Tonight, we are honored to have with us two panelists who are leaders in this area and driving social impact and driving social justice. Let me start by introducing them to you. She is an award-winning Latina activist, an entrepreneur, an author, a founder of Urban Light, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering young men affected by human trafficking in Thailand. Joining us all the way from Verona, Italy, is Alezandra Russell. Say hi.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Posey. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I'm really excited to be on this panel and in this breakout room, so looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Next up, she is an experienced community organizer, diverse and inclusion trainer, an attorney even, a Bush Foundation Leadership Fellow. She's currently the executive director at South Dakota Voice for Peace. Joining us from Sioux Falls, South Dakota is Taneeza Islam.
Thanks for having me. Hello, thanks for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Great to have you. Next up, someone who's co-founded ImmSchools, a nonprofit that is focused on K-12 space, helping to create a safe and welcoming environment for kids to learn, especially immigrant students. Joining us from San Antonio, Texas, this is Viri Carrizales. Introduce yourself. Say hi.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for having us here.
Great to have you. And finally, she's a member of Mobile Pathway's own advisory board. She's fluent in the language of corporate social impact. And using this kind of a cross-sector partnership as her superpower, she makes companies' social goodwill go even further. She's currently the VP of Social Impact at DigitalOcean, all the way from Oakland, California. Please welcome Admas. Say hi, Admas.
Hello, thanks, Posey. And I was saying that's like the best introduction anyone has ever given me. And so I really appreciate that. And so excited to join this incredible panel of women leaders for today.
Well, welcome panelists, welcome our audience. To get the conversation started, let's just travel down memory lane. This question will go to each and every one of you. What is that one delicious dish, that one savory snack? If you just eat it, if you even just smell it, it instantly takes you back home, back to childhood. Who wants to start? Why don't we say, Alexandra, you start.
Sure.
What's that dish?
Yeah, okay. What is that dish? Well, we were just talking with the panelists earlier about those dishes, and I was debating which one to do, but I think, guys, I'm going to go with the empanada from grandmother's house. It's just such a staple in Argentina, and I can like almost hear the sizzling of the empanada being dropped in the frying pan. And so that to me is just always comfort. It gathers people around the table, and on a cold night, there's nothing better. So for me, I'll go with empanada.
I'm hungry as it is.
I know. I think we're all going to be hungry after this.
Taneeza, what about you?
So similar to an empanada, my parents are from Bangladesh, and my mom has made this own concoction that we call chicken rolls. And we have them for very special occasions like holidays, and I can just smell it in the air and like it's going to be a special day.
That's amazing. Is it fried or something?
It's baked. So anything in phyllo dough, right? So phyllo dough stuffed with spicy chicken, essentially.
Ooh, yum, yum. All right, Viri, what about you?
This is definitely making me hungry. I'm also expecting a baby, so all these cravings are happening right now. I will say for me, my mom makes this mole, which is, it's like this, dish. It translates to sauce in Nahuatl, and it has like tons of ingredients and spices, and my mom just adds so much love, and every time she makes it like for like 40 people. So I'm just always asking her to make it for us, and she just loves making that specific dish, and it just warms my heart and brings me back to my childhood growing up in Mexico. So I would say that's the one that will do it for me.
Awesome. Well, finally, Admas.
Yes, so very similarly, I think these foods that we associate with our families like very much resonate, for all of us. I was thinking particularly the smell of fried onions actually just remind me of home so much. So I'm originally from East Africa. My mother cooks a lot of Ethiopian food. She's Ethiopian. And the very first step in most of those dishes is to spend literally 90 minutes frying onions, and the entire house smells of onions, and your clothes smell of onions. And it used to frustrate me so much when I was a child. But now, if I can smell it from the street, if I walk by your house and I smell frying onions, I'll want to come to the door because it associates with that memory.
Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry as it
Admas,
is.
I'm with you there. Absolutely.
Well, with that as an icebreaker, let me get to the meat of this. This is not an easy question, so you have to excuse me if I, jump right into the meat of it. So each of you has worked really, really, really hard to become leaders in your field. What do you say to those who dismiss your achievements? Because I've heard that, right? People say, nonprofits are all run by women anyways. That doesn't mean a thing. Or, she's only a leader over a nonprofit because can't make it in the real business world. What do you say to things like that? Maria, let me pick on you. Have you heard something like this before?
Yes, all the time. And I will say, keep it coming, because that's what gives me fuel to to just tell them and show them like what we're made about. And when I was thinking about that question, reflecting on the fact that immigrants are more likely to start businesses in this country than US born, and that we create more jobs and employ more people than any businesses by US born. So say, be an immigrant and then come and speak to me. And I feel really proud as one of those immigrants who was not born in this country, who started an organization. I currently have 8 employees who are part of ImmSchools and 8 part-time folks. And we're all like, getting paid above market. And I just want to make sure that we're taking care of our people, that, and that we're creating and stepping outside from, not valuing the contributions and the unique experiences and perspectives that we bring into the table. So, co-founded this organization 3.5 years ago. We've been able to raise more than $3 million in those 3 years, and hire this 8 folks, 8 part-time folks. So I'm just really proud of that, and I would just let that speak for itself. And yeah, I would just say, immigrants, we get the job done in this country.
Great to hear. Admas, what about you? Have you heard something like that?
I was going to say, no, nobody's ever doubted me at all, ever. Of course not. As folks who move through the world with the experiences that we have, we're always hearing, you're not good enough, you don't have enough, you don't have enough X, Y, Z to do this. And it's part of our almost incredible resilience that we, in spite of all those messages, are still pushing forward no matter what. And part of that, I think a lot is about our legacy and our connection to our family and our histories. Many of those histories, come from countries, peoples, nationalities, groups who have always been strong and resilient. And so that's what helps carry me through. And I think I was like, unfortunately, it took a long time. I was like a well-seasoned adult before I realized that everything that I have is enough. And more importantly, that my unique experiences, perspectives, and aspirations are exactly what is needed for this time. They're exactly what is needed for this moment. But I didn't make that realization until I was a whole grown ass person. And I wish I did much earlier. And that's really what I wish for the youth of today. Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for your input, because that's inspirational to me to hear from you. So thank you. Taneeza, what do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking about when I've heard that. And I think I owe all credit to one of my dear mentors who early on in my career said, you will always have haters, right? So the proof of who you are is in the work and impact that you do. Mm-hmm. And that has kind of been my North Star, if you will, for the last 20 years. And so even if people are saying that, they cannot deny the impact of our work that we've had in just a short 4 years here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And, similar to Viri, we are walking the walk when it comes to equity and building women of color in this very homogenous place that I live in and work in, and leading the example of all these conversations that are happening around us about how do we diversify more? Why aren't people, people don't apply to our jobs. So we are a living and breathing example of when you have the right mission and vision and strategies and education, the people will come.
Great to hear. And finally, Alezandra, have you heard something like that before?
Oh, indeed. I feel like in my home, when I was living at home with my mom, who is an immigrant from Argentina, single mom, started her own business, raised me entirely alone. I feel like in my household, the glass ceiling had been shattered forever. It wasn't until I stepped out of my house that I realized, oh, wow, there's some obstacles here. And there are quite a bit. And so I feel like, being first generation American, it comes with so much pressure. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure every panelist can experience that. We have this demand placed on our shoulders from a young age to thrive, to achieve, to reach that goal. And so for me, it's been something that I've always aimed to achieve. My mom was actually a victim of trafficking at the age of 17. She came to the U.S., crazy story, with a man that would eventually go back to Argentina and overthrow the government in one of the largest coups d'etats in the 70s. And so, fast forward 30 years, she has me, and here I am, an anti-trafficking activist, and now we have the language for her to understand what it is that she went through. And so I feel like that's my mission, is to kind of give these definitions, these ideas, these permissions to our past elders who didn't get that, who didn't have an easy life once they initially arrived. So I'm trying to overcome those ceilings, and, it's at home, it's fine, but I think it's definitely outside the home where we see those challenges.
Well, it just looks like you guys have found power through any situation, really. So I have a lot to learn from you all. So thank you for sharing. We're about halfway through. I wanted to ask you guys about sacrifices. I think people always say you kind of have to make sacrifices to get somewhere. If you pursue something, then you got to give up something else. What are some of the things that you had to give up to become successful in your area? Let's work backwards. I'm gonna make Alezandra answer again.
Sure. So for most of you in the room, I don't know if you know, but I started an organization called Urban Light about 12 years ago, and we provide services to boys who are victims of trafficking and exploitation in Thailand. And I know what you all are thinking. Boys, really boys? Or, what about girls? And, the saddest statistic is that boys make up and males make up 30% of trafficking victims worldwide. And yet 90% of funding and attention goes towards programs that support women and girls. And so my focus was to fill that gap, walking through the red light district, seeing 15-year-old boys that were essentially for sale, was just something I was extremely unwilling to accept. And so at 28 years old, I started this organization. Fast forward 10, 11 years, and I'm living in Thailand. I'm, creating partnerships, and journalist approaches me, and they wanted to highlight the incredible work that we were doing at Urban Light. And of course, I'm thinking, publicity, this is great. We need funding. Let's do this. Unfortunately, I was not realizing that actually, I did know we were under a military. We continue to be under a military dictatorship in Thailand. And so I think the biggest sacrifice I experienced was losing Thailand, which is why I'm currently in Italy, because I had to flee Thailand about 3 years ago due to defamation laws, due to freedom of speech, and talking about the issue of human trafficking. And there's such an intersectionality between human trafficking, migration, and that's what I'm so excited to be sharing this panel for, because we all have such incredible sacrifices that we've made. Hopefully mine will eventually get me back to Thailand, but until then, that will have to be my biggest sacrifice, Posey.
My heart goes out to you. I mean, it's hard enough to have to leave someone behind, but under those circumstances. Thank you, Admas, as well. Viri, what about you?
This is definitely a tough question. You know, for me, I came to the U.S. when I was 11 years old, and I grew up most of my life being undocumented. I didn't get to adjust my immigration status until later in my 20s. So I feel like one of the biggest things that I was forced to sacrifice, one of my most valuable assets, was time. I didn't get to, you know, I graduated from college, had these degrees, and felt like I had all these talents and skills. And yet because of the injustices of this immigration system, I was not able to, you know, to really give back and do what I wanted to do. And I feel like I had to just wait until I could, join the workforce and do all these things that I was restricted given my immigration status, and felt like I had to catch up. Once I was able to, be given that opportunity to adjust my status, I felt like, okay, I need to catch up on 5 years of, me being out there, not having a status, having a degree, trying to do all these things. And I actually wish too that I knew about the power that I had as an immigrant, and like you share, Admas, in terms of, we have it within ourselves, and we're the right people to make it happen. And if I had, really internalized that as a young person, even me being undocumented, I could have made magic happen, even without an immigration status. So I feel like that's a huge part of what we, started this organization, to also let other, young immigrants, young women, young men who are coming to this country feeling like without an immigration status, we can't really pursue our dreams. And it's like, no, we make things happen out of nothing. And I feel like we don't get to tap into all of our talents or skills or, everything that we already have within ourselves. And I just feel like I wish I had realized that sooner, so I didn't feel like I, couldn't really do much those years when I didn't have an immigration status. So I would say it's a mixture of time that I had to sacrifice, and now feeling like, what can I do to make sure that other young immigrants, especially those that are undocumented right now, can tap into those, those skills, those talents, without feeling like they need an immigration status in this country.
And that's why we're going to start focus on education, right? Give them the right information up front. That's amazing work that you're doing. Thank you, Admas. And then over to Taneeza after that. Admas, what about you?
Yeah, I'll just share that, just want to thank the panelists just for honoring us with these incredible stories and perspectives. When I think about sacrifices along the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, I didn't include it in my bio, which I should, but I was also an immigrant, also undocumented for most of my young life, and was also naturalized in 2016, Viri, like you, here in Oakland, California, after my daughter was born. And so I really feel you around the idea of losing time. I often think about the community back home, and because of this disconnection, I feel so fortunate to be able to use my energy, my mind share, my blood, sweat, and tears to fight for the issues that make a difference here in the US, and to be able to support communities here in the US. But I feel sometimes that I did that at the sacrifice of supporting communities back home. And so I'm always riding this tension, sitting between these two worlds of where should I have spent my time and energy? Where was the right place? That, you know, suffering unfortunately is like ubiquitous across the world. I'm thinking right now most of back home because of the civil war in Ethiopia right now, and but I'm feeling that tension particularly right now. And as I sort of have always moved through my work, I'm so appreciative that I can make some impact here in the US, but always thinking about the missed impact that I could have had back home.
It's harder to see things happen from far away. I can certainly relate. Taneeza, why don't you share your story? And I understand that you have some additional information to share after that.
Yeah, this is a great segue, actually. You know, I'm here in South Dakota. We live in an ultra conservative state, but I live in kind of the progressive niche in our state here in Sioux Falls. And I think I don't think about it often, but when I do and have to name it, it's a lot, right, in terms of being vulnerable with this group. But I think what I've sacrificed is safety of mine and my family. I am one of 8 immigration lawyers in the state. I'm the only Muslim immigration lawyer in the state. I'm the only person who's created this advocacy and civil rights organization for immigrants, Muslims, and refugees in the state. And I started this work by fighting racist and bigoted legislation in our state when no one else had ever come to do that looks like me, right? The actual impacted communities. In those first couple of years, which was back in 2017, you know, I did get death threats and I got calls. I mean, obviously nothing had panned out, but that was scary enough. And I have two boys and a husband who got scared, right? But I don't know the community support clearly that we have had and garnered over the 4 years made me realize, and I think the community to realize, that fighting hate, you know, means persistence even through some of the scary stuff that we have to deal with. And I feel privileged to be equipped to be able to do that, and don't believe everyone needs to, right? But it's worked out for me, and it's just garnered so much more strength, I would say, in the progressive space and where we are now in our community. And so with this work, you know, I recently was asked to run for mayor of Sioux Falls, and I announced my candidacy about a month ago now. And it just really, you know, I couldn't be here and do the work that I do without my husband and my kids and this community support to say, when we come together, we are stronger, and we can fight hate. And we need a lot of courage to do that. But it is possible even in a super red, ultra conservative state.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. If you'd like to support me, I'll drop my stuff in the chat box. In terms of social media, I would love it if everyone can just share. You know, I'm so inspired by yesterday and all these amazing young women of color, men of color, all different religions, getting city council seats in New York and Boston, mayors in Michigan and Boston. I mean, it's just incredible. And it just feels like the right moment, no matter where we are in the country. So we can do this.
Well, first of all, congratulations. And we definitely need more change makers and thought leaders to represent us, the multicultural us that is us. We just have a few minutes left. I want to just finish by asking each of you to quickly summarize one thing that you would suggest that we all do to promote inclusivity, to celebrate the fact that we are in fact multicultural. Let's start with Viri.
Man, there's like so many so many things. And I know when we were just speaking earlier today, Poesy, you said, oftentimes people are all about our food and, trying our food. And that's usually how they, make this connection. But then anything outside of our food, they're not willing to engage in conversation and touch. And I think it's such a missed opportunity for them. Because we're so much more than our food, our culture, lived experiences. One of the things that has been so strong for me is that we don't get to value enough the lived experiences of people in our community, and that's where I feel like all the learning is. Like we were just to listen to our own ancestors, like our own family members. That is the most beautiful way that we can grow as human beings, to be reminded of where we come from and what is our purpose in this life. And I feel that as proximate leaders, as immigrants, that connection is so important for me. And I feel like when other folks are learning about my culture, learning about my story, that is so important to position and center the people that made me, and my mother, and those stories that we don't get to hear. Those are real, like the stories of resilience, the stories of just all these beautiful things that make us. And so I would say, just take time to really get to know people and listen to their stories. You'll be amazed to find all these beautiful things, just like our food, right? So I think if we just spend more time getting to know people and getting to know their stories, we will be connected in a more meaningful way than we are today. So I hope that folks get a chance to just, if you didn't know someone who was formerly undocumented, you now know two people in this panel who share that experience, so that you're not just thinking about undocumented people as one thing or an abstract thing. Like, it's real human people, human. So I would say that's my message. Just being open to really meeting people, meeting their stories, and hearing from them.
Thank you so much. We have like a minute left. 10 words, everybody. Admas.
I really don't have anything else to add to what Viri said. I think for immigrants, tell our stories, grasp our powers. For those who are not, listen to those stories and seed some power.
Thank you. And Alezandra?
Yeah, I would say my mantra, which is, you can't have personal freedom without personal responsibility. So, everyone do one thing per day that will have a ripple effect, whether it's hold a door, share your platform, share your voice. It's so easy. It doesn't cost money. And that would be my way.
Thank you. And finally, Taneeza.
I think sometimes we concentrate at our level, right? What is the big impact that we're making? But it's those day-to-day small wins that really make the impact and build the momentum. So to do both, if you can, or really know that you are making a difference, no matter what you are comparing yourself to. So to thank everybody for the work that they do and the passions that they have, and for being here today.
Thank you so much for sharing some very private and sometimes painful thoughts. We are grateful, and we're privileged to be able to hear these thoughts from you. From my perspective, I am going to make everybody eat my famous meat sauce, and that's how I'm going to unite the world. So thank you so much. In a few minutes, probably less than a minute, we will be sent back to the main room. So I want to thank you for your participation. Thank you for listening. And we are going to be sent back now, I believe. Thank you. Bye.